The distress chain came in 4 pieces. That was the first strange thing. Not a single beacon, not a clean burst on the emergency band. 4 separate fragments, staggered across 11 hours, each one a partial handshake, each one signed with a different Ashari diplomatic cipher. Like the message had been passed between people who were running out of time and taking turns with the transmitter. The 4th fragment was the weakest. It cut off mid-authentication and there was nothing after it. I logged all 4. I plotted the origin vector. Then I turned the Endurance off the survey lane and pushed her hard towards Sereth Waystation. My crew was 3. Pollard on engineering, Yan on sensors, and myself. We were a survey freighter. We carried core sample rigs, a mapping array, 4 months of rations, and 1 emergency medical cabinet. We were not a rescue vessel. We were not a warship. We had no special mandate from anyone. None of that changed the math. 4 distress fragments. Origin point Sereth Waystation. Distance, 14 hours at full burn. I told Pollard to give me everything the drive had, and I filed an incident report with the nearest relay buoy on the way out. I did not wait for a reply. If someone with a faster ship and better equipment was already inbound, they'd get there before me, and I'd turn around. If not, I'd be there in 14 hours. Simple. Sereth Waystation had been decommissioned 11 years before. It sat at the junction of 2 old transit corridors, both lightly used now, both technically open. The station was legally in service as an emergency shelter point, which meant it still had power, life support, and a beacon that was supposed to ping every 6 hours. It had not pinged in 19 days. I was not expecting to find anyone alive. I came out of the dark and there she was. A long skeletal structure, running lights dim, 1 docking collar extended and the other locked half open. No ships at dock. The Ashari escort vessel that was supposed to have delivered a diplomatic delegation to a treaty conference on the far side of the corridor was gone. It had been gone for 19 days. I raised the station on every frequency I had. No answer. I suited up. I told Pollard to hold position and keep the engines warm, and I ran the umbilical across myself. I am not given to dark imaginings, but I will admit the walk from the collar to the station's interior lock was unpleasant. The lights in the access tube had failed. I went by torch, and the torch threw long shadows, and the shadows moved like something was walking with me. Nothing was walking with me. It was just the dark. The main ring was cold and empty. Life support was running on minimum, breathable, barely warm. I checked the station's internal registry at the first panel I found. The station had logged 4 biosignatures entering 17 days ago, quarantined to Section D of the cargo tier. That was the deepest section, farthest from the docking collars, farthest from the cold. I went down. I heard them before I found them. Ashari voices. I don't speak the language, but I know what it sounds like. 3 short syllables, and precise, then silence, then a reply. A conversation going in circles. The kind of conversation people have when there is nothing left to say, and they are saying it again anyway. Because silence is worse. The Section D hatch was sealed from the inside. I knocked. The voices stopped. I identified myself in galactic standard. My name, my ship, my species. I said I had received their distress chain. I said I was alone and I was here to take them home. A long pause. Then, in careful and formal standard that had clearly been practiced, we were told that no one in this corridor would answer a signal from this station. I said I could not speak for anyone else in the corridor. Another pause. The hatch opened. There were 4 of them. The Ashari are tall, nearly 2 meters, and built like hollow wire, all angular limb and long neck and dark iridescent plumage that goes from near black at the crown to deep oil green at the shoulders. These 4 were thinner than they should have been. Their plumage was dull, flattened against the body the way feathers flatten when a creature is cold or frightened or ill. The youngest, I estimated him as junior, by the deference the others showed him, had his right arm wrapped in a makeshift bandage improvised from what appeared to be a diplomatic sash. They stared at me for a long moment. I am aware that humans are not always what other species expect when they think rescue. I am not a large person. I weigh 61 kilograms. I was wearing a survey suit with the Endurance's registry stenciled on the shoulder. The one in the center, the senior delegate, I would learn later, a woman named Ambassador Shale Voris, looked at me for what felt like a very long then she said, You came alone. I said yes. She said, in a survey ship. I said yes. She looked at the others, then back at me. The Marith Coalition guaranteed our safe passage under Treaty Compact 7. When the route designation changed to contested status, our escort invoked the force clause and withdrew. They left us 19 days ago. We have been transmitting since day one. She paused. Received no response. I asked if anyone was injured beyond the arm. One of them, I took him to be a medic, by the bag he carried, said, in slower standard, that there were no critical injuries. The arm was a stress fracture from a fall in the cold. Primary concern was caloric depletion and the cold itself. I said I had rations in a medical cabinet and heat aboard the Endurance. I said we could deal with the arm on the way. Ambassador Shale Voris said, "Where are you taking us?" I gave her the name of the nearest populated station, with a treaty office presence. 6 days out at survey freighter speed. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "The coalition relay at Marath has been notified of this incident?" Said I had filed an incident report before I came aboard. Something shifted in her expression. Not quite relief, or not relief alone. Something that looked more like a person recalibrating a number they had believed to be fixed. "We had a discussion among ourselves," she said. 3 days ago, we concluded, formally with a consensus, that no rescue was coming, that the signal had either gone unheard or been deliberately disregarded, that we were to conserve resources and prepare for the worst. She stopped. "We reached that conclusion 9 days after you received our fragments." I did not know what to say to that, I said. I came as fast as the drive would push. We got all 4 of them across the umbilical in under an hour. Pollard, who is a better cook than either of us has ever admitted, put a hot meal together in the time it took me to get them settled in the aft cabin. Yen reset the medical cabinet and walked the medic through it. The stress fracture got splinted properly. The 4 of them ate, and I watched the color come back into their plumage slowly. The dark oil green brightening, the flattened feathers beginning to lift. Sent a second report to the relay buoy. 4 Ashari diplomats recovered, alive and stable, ETA to treaty station 6 days. Then I took us out of the dark and pointed the Endurance toward the lights. 6 days is a long time on a small ship. Learned more about Ashari diplomatic protocol than I had known there was to know. Pollard taught the junior delegate a card game, badly, so the delegate would win, which I pretended not to notice. Yen fixed the bandage twice, because the splint kept slipping and she kept pretending she just happened to be passing the cabin. Ambassador Shale Voris spent a great deal of time at the forward port, watching the transit lane ahead. On the 4th day, she told me that she can't file the referral of the 19 days with the Ashari diplomatic registry. She said the account mentioned, in the section reserved for extraordinary circumstances, that a human survey freighter had come unasked, without authorization from any coalition body, without a rescue mandate, and without any crew larger than 3. She said she had noted, in the same section, that when she had asked me why, I had said, someone had to. I don't remember saying that. It sounds like something Pollard would say. But I did not correct her. We delivered all 4 of them to the treaty station on the morning of 6th day. They walked down the ramp under their own power. The Dawnfigure delegate's arm was healing well. Ambassador Shale Voris paused at the bottom of the ramp and turned and looked up at the Endurance for a long moment. The way people look at a thing they are making sure to remember. Then she walked forward to meet whoever was waiting. We went back out on the survey lane. There was core sample work to finish. The mapping array needed a recalibration. There was work to do, and we did it. I kept 4 distress fragments in the log, not because regulations required it. The incident report satisfied that. I kept them because I liked the look of them, lined up in sequence, each one a little weaker than the last. And then below them, my course correction, filed without fanfare, pointing toward Sereth. 4 calls and 1 answer. That seemed right to me. That seemed like how it was supposed to go.